as introduced, I'm Katlego, and I'll be telling you just a little bit about the role of 4IR in built environment. So my background is in 4IR, and there are intersections between what I do and what you do in the built environment. So I'm not necessarily from built environment, I'm from the engineering side of things. So I'm an industrial engineer with international experience in 4IR implementation. Some of these projects have been abroad. So I've been involved in the build of the 4IR journey for BMW in South Carolina, the US. And what that entailed really was fixing the relationship between the infrastructure that was already there, what is needed in terms of infrastructure to facilitate for 4IR. So that's most of the projects that I will get involved in with the built environment is about how do you retrofit a solution into a facility that's already there, or how do you then get more out of what you already have using the 4IR technology. So the first thing is now we're moving into smart buildings. So you'll have scenarios where buildings have been built, or in the design phase of buildings, built environment people are now taking it as a strategic move to go into IoT and build 4IR technology into their design for the building or add it afterwards. And some of these are IoT, big data analytics, where you have certain areas of your building being responsive to other areas. So we'll put in cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and have your building essentially be alive. So you have constant streams of data, you have constant monitoring capabilities that you wouldn't otherwise have automatically. And that's the opportunities that 4IR gives the built environment. And then that's the first section. The second section is, in order to build these, you go into construction projects. And I like what the previous speaker was saying. They mentioned the fact that there are concerns with productivity within construction, meeting deadlines and producing quality work. Now with 4IR, we have the opportunity to leverage on virtual reality or augmented reality so that we are able to plan out these construction projects better and be able to manage them in a way that's time effective. And you also have this great opportunity to interact with your clients. So if you have augmented reality or virtual reality, the client can actually interact with the building at the design phase. If they're looking for something that's really specific to their taste and you are at that design phase, you can also have a 3D model for them or additive manufacturing models where they are able to interact and tick on the boxes. Because I know in my personal experience, if you're able to sort of create an environment around your project, you're able to involve the client in terms of how you design it and explain how you do that. The customer satisfaction also is much higher at that point. And with 4IR, I was part of a team in the UK with Mini Cooper that was introducing AGVs. Now with AGVs, that meant we had to change the structure of the building. And with virtual reality and artificial intelligence, we were actually able to eliminate some of the blind spots that we would have had if we had just had a normal model and then moved to building. So this gives you much more flexibility. You don't have to build it and then fix it. You can model it and then recognize, okay, this is something that I need to adjust, or that is something that I need to adjust. So my company is Project One Engineering, and with the learnings of my projects, I've actually started the company with the vision to help out businesses and manufacturers, not only manufacturers that will manufacture a small product. Your building is also a manufactured product in terms of my industrial engineering background. So some of these implementations, the reason why we do 4IR, why we choose this technology, is to improve project performance, reduce waste. You don't want to now build and have to tear something down that will fall under waste. Not only that, but to be able to predict how much material you need, track that material, and then monitor it from there is one of the big opportunities that 4IR gives us. You have transparency into your processes, competitive advantage, real-time analytics, tracking, of course, then flexibility to be able to change your path before you've already constructed something. Then what are some of the interesting use cases for this? So with 4IR technology, and now we know about sustainability and we want our buildings to be as energy efficient as possible. And that's something that 4IR offers us in terms of utility. So you can track your utility. You can use some of these learnings through our training and through the implementations that I mentioned to make your utility, I call it, make it alive, as in be responsive to it, get data as and when you need it. You can also get it in real time, which is very efficient in saving your utility bills. And then you have safety, where one of the biggest concerns with construction is not only the safety of that building. So you have safety requirements that you need to adhere to. So incorporating 4IR helps you kind of build that into your system so that you are not falling out of it. It's just much, much easier than having to go in and inspect at every different point. So you still have to do those inspections, but you can have that as an ongoing thing through 4IR technology. And then security of your buildings, when from personal homes to malls to large scale corporate buildings, security is one of the areas that's jumped to 4IR technology. I mean, most of what we do with 4IR is around that security factor. Then you have data insights, and of course, my personal favorite, sustainability solutions. So we know carbon emissions is a problem. We know we want to be using exactly the amount of energy that we need. We don't want to be using more than what we need. And then space utilization is a good place to use 4IR as well, where we have scenarios of space sharing. So you can build your building in such a way that it will allow for space sharing. So if you only utilize that building 70%, then you want to go into space utilization and find out how you can use that other 30%. And then, of course, for project use cases, when you're on the ground in a construction environment, resource tracking is one of the places where you can use 4IR. Material planning is a good one. Like I said in the previous slide, sustainability becomes a question of what exactly do we need? Are we using only what we need? So it's a good way of recognizing I've actually used much more than what I needed, and then go the route of trying to understand why will we, for example, six kgs of cement out of spec. That's a much, much more reliable way of doing it with 4IR, and you use these technologies for tracking, such as IoT. And then for work orders, so when you're on site, you know exactly what's going on. You can even manage your projects remotely, which I think is one of the greater advantages we've seen now with COVID-19 and work disruptions. If you have a scenario where you have to now streamline your team, you need only who you need on site, it's a great way for you to keep communication open and manage everything that's going on, from understanding what's going on with your material to what's going on with your equipment. And then safety is definitely a big one with construction sites. So a good one is using drones. Now, part of our training is kind of understanding what is out there for you to use and what technologies will best fit your specific scenario. So if you are in a site that has certain safety hazards, there are precautions that you can put in place without having to put a person in danger. So you take that element out. A person could be there and they could be great at it, but if there's that extra element of something might go wrong, it's always best to employ something like drones, for example. And then in the design phase of construction, we have softwares already that do a great job at helping you map out your design. And then you can add artificial intelligence to that and machine learning to that to understand better your dimensions and to kind of use predictive analytics, use your data to help you understand what are the possible areas that you need to focus on. So for example, if you have built something and you want the predictive analytics to show you areas that are amber or orange before they go green. So the areas that would be amber are areas of possible concern. So you can actually look into that and say, there's actually a better, much more efficient way of designing this particular section. So for us at Project One Engineering, and for me personally, I've always been interested in 4IR. And I think 4IR now gives us the opportunity to gain competitive advantage for us to now understand the work that we do in more depth. And in the built environment case, we can do it at a project level when we're in construction, and we can do it at a level where the actual building is a smart building, it's a responsive building. So these are our contacts if you'd like to learn more about these technologies that I've just touched on. I try to give as much information as possible in the time just to give you an idea of what is out there for you to leverage in 4IR. And one of the things that the last speaker spoke about was the interest from young people. With this technology, I think giving this 4IR meets built environment approach, there's a lot of young people that are interested in 4IR at the moment. And I just would put it out there that taking the approach of saying 4IR meets built environment would really attract much more young people.